experience these above normal conditions. So we need to brace ourselves for the months to come, and this is going to go on up until September. So we need to be really ready, because yes, climate change is becoming something we have to grapple with, and open conversations regarding the same on how to safeguard our environment.
Well, indeed, and the conversations of climate change really start with all of us, especially with the kind of activities that we indulge in. When you look at people settling in wetlands or those settling in swampy areas, it is high time we started protecting the environment, because it does seem like at the end of everything, the chances are very high that we may face the repercussions. And when you look at the effects of climate change, for instance, what was happening in Kasese, the flooding and the mudslides, it is something that has led to loss of property in Kasese and displaced quite a number of people. And these are things that we really need to prepare ourselves for, because the changing weather patterns are quite unpredictable at the moment. But sit back, because now it's time for us to get into what has been making headlines within the country and see what next we can actually get for you in the next hours of our discussion. But first, we look at our local news this morning.
Now, as the country gears up for the celebrations of the Uganda Martyrs' Day on June 3rd, it was excitement all over as hundreds of pilgrims from Nebi Diocese made the last attempt to reach to Namgongo as they walked through Matuga, Kawanda, Kawempe and Kalere up to Naguru, where they spent the Tuesday night ready to march to Namgongo Catholic shrines on Wednesday 29th, which is today, and they will be there today. Now, in this pilgrimage, Orombi Robert is volunteering as a traffic warden, and he says this is not an easy job. Orombi's intention is to safeguard the pilgrims in most areas where the pilgrims went through. For those who couldn't join, they supported the trek with water, money and smiles. Along the highway, it was excitement throughout the journey. At Kawempe Kutano Market, the vendors donated goodies such as roasted bananas, locally referred to as gonja, fruits and drinks as a symbol of reception to the faithful. For security personnel, led by the Chief of Military Intelligence, Brigadier General James Birungi, have walked along the pilgrims to offer security. Going through Kawempe Chula, Kalere, Bukoto Road, the pilgrims received a cultural reception at Chebando Roundabout as they headed to Naguru. St. Jude Catholic Parish Church in Naguru marks the last step of their trek. And still Martyrs Day. As the 3rd June Martyrs Day draws closer, efforts to ensure top-notch security are underway. At Namgongo Martyrs Catholic Shrine, police and sister security agencies have deployed in and around the site. The Deputy Police Spokesperson, Kampala Metropolitan Area, Luke Oweyesigire, says with the growing number of pilgrims, it's only necessary to increase security presence to avoid criminality. It's just 5 days to the Martyrs' Day commemorations, and as such, preparations to make it a success are in high gear. From cleaners to the business community, everyone is seen up and about. Police, together and with security agencies, seem ready to ensure security for pilgrims. At Namgongo Martyrs Catholic Shrine, security officers in their hundreds continue to be dropped off for deployment. Deputy Public Relations Officer, Kampala Metropolitan Police, Luke Oweyesigire, told UBC that there is security for the pilgrims. No one is allowed to access the venue without being checked. Meanwhile, police on the night of 27th and 28th May 2024 arrested 30 suspects during its intelligence-led operations conducted in Chira Division. Luke Oesigire, the Deputy Public Relations Officer, Kampala Metropolitan Area, confirms this, saying the suspects will soon be arraigned in courts of law for a legal battle. Businesses, on the other hand, are booming, with the bigger part of the roadsides already occupied by both hawkers and stationed businesses. Now moving on, the Minister of Internal Affairs, Major General Kahinda Otafire, has cautioned the police authority over police brutality towards opposition politicians. While presiding over the handover and takeover ceremony of the new IGP, the minister pointed out the current clash between the National Unity Platform Party and the police authority, which undermines the system of constitutionalism. The Minister for Internal Affairs, Major General Kahinda Otafire, has cautioned police over continued brutality against opposition political parties, as it does not represent the constitutionalism system of the government. He was officiating the handover and takeover function of the new Inspector General of Police. Otafire questioned the rift between the National Unity Platform and the Uganda Police, which undermines the multi-party system, and cautioned police against being tempted into partisan politics. The outgoing Deputy IGP, Major General Geoffrey Tumsime Katsigazi, highlighted the work left for the incoming team and hinted on the huge funding gap to police, leading to the deplorable welfare of police officers. And lastly, in our local news, State Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Persis Namganza, has joined a section of members of parliament to progress the censure motion on parliamentary commissioners. Minister Namganza condemned corruption while appending her signature on the notice of censure, which is being led by Member of Parliament Theodore Sechkubo and Sarah Opendi. The commissioners are accused of sharing about 1.7 billion shillings in disguise of service awards. Over 100 members of parliament have appended respective signatures on the notice. More members of parliament have joined the queue to append signatures on the notice of censure introduced by members including Sechkubo and Sarah Opendi. The notice seeks to relieve the parliamentary commissioners of their positions following allegations of corruption. The Leader of Opposition, Joel Senyonyi, also has led a team of members of parliament to sign the motion. But after signing, Leader of Opposition Senyonyi distanced the move from internal party politics. Matthias Mpuga and 3 other backbench commissioners, Solomon Siranyi, Esther Afawachan and Prosi Mbabazi, are accused of turning 1.7 billion shillings into a cash bonanza, a move highly described as selfish interest. Well, that rounds up our local news. Back to you, Sonko.
And well, a lot is happening in Uganda's parliament, if you come to think of that. But now, away from Uganda's parliament, Chantal Oliver Kanenda has details of what is trending and making headlines across the globe.
You know, we've been giving you updates on what is happening with the Israel and Gaza war. Now, a temporary pier built by the U.S. military to deliver aid to Gaza has been damaged by heavy seas and will take at least a week to be repaired, according to U.S. officials. Now, U.S. forces began building the floating pier, which is attached to Gaza's shoreline by a temporary causeway several weeks ago. The causeway portion of the project has now reportedly broken off and will have to be repaired before being returned to its position. Humanitarian organizations have warned that the amount of aid reaching Palestinians in Gaza is only a fraction of what is required to meet the needs of its population. The pier, which was first announced by U.S. officials in March, is comprised of 2 main components: a large floating dock made up of steel segments and a 2-lane 1,800 feet causeway and pier. The causeway part of the project is composed of a series of interconnected 40-feet steel pieces linked together and attached to the shore. On Tuesday, the Pentagon confirmed that a portion of the causeway broke away in heavy seas. While it is tethered to Gaza's shoreline, the piece will need to be removed and taken to the Israel port for Ashdod to be repaired before it can be reattached to the causeway and back in action. According to the Pentagon spokeswoman Sabrina Singh, the pier will be removed over the next 2 days with the help of the Israeli Navy. The repairs will take more than a week, she added. Now, Ms. Singh said weather conditions in the area had not created an optimal environment for the pier's deployment, but that defense forces remain confident it will be operational again soon. I can't predict the weather, she said, but we believe that given the time of the year, we will be able to re-anchor this. And Mick Mulroy, the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East and one of the founders of the Fogbo, a private firm involved in the Gaza Pier plan, told news agencies that weather-related delays were expected to pose challenges. Now, just a bit of statistics: more than 36,000 Palestinians have been killed since the war with Israel began. And away from that, let's cross over and see what is happening in the Trump lawsuits now. In the defense's final pitch, Mr. Trump's lead lawyer attacked Michael Cohen, who is his former fixer and the prosecution's star witness, as the greatest liar of all time. Prosecutors then launched into a lengthy rebuttal portraying Cohen as a flawed tour guide to a mountain of evidence against Mr. Trump. 12 jurors will soon be asked to decide if the former president and presumptive Republican nominee for November's election is guilty beyond reasonable doubt of falsifying business records. Even over the past 6 weeks, Mr. Trump, 77, has sat through days of testimony regarding a hush money payment made before the 2016 election to Stormy Daniels, a former adult film star, in exchange for her silence over an alleged sexual encounter. Prosecutors with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office claim Mr. Trump falsified business records on 34 counts when he reimbursed Cohen for the $130,000 payment and recorded it as legal fees. They have further claimed he was motivated by an intent to unlawfully influence the 2016 election. Now, the panel of the 12 New York jurors will weigh Mr. Trump's legal fate and must unanimously agree to convict or acquit him. If they cannot agree on a verdict, the case will move to a mistrial. And back to Africa, we cross over to South Africa, which is expected to be having its elections. Now, South Africans are set to vote in the most pivotal election since the racist system of apartheid ended in 1994. More than 27 million people are registered to cast their ballots in a poll that highlights growing political fragmentation after 30 years of democracy. A record 70 parties and 11 independents are contesting an election that will see South Africans vote for a new parliament and 9 provincial legislators. The huge growth in political parties shows disillusionment with the old big parties, or cynics would say. People are looking for an opportunity to get into parliament and earn a pension. And this is according to political analyst Richard Carland. In power since anti-apartheid icon Nelson Mandela led it to victory at the end of the white minority rule, the African National Congress is seeking a 7th term in office. Though it is confident of a decisive victory, opinion polls have consistently suggested that the party will lose its parliamentary majority for the first time, forcing it to enter into a coalition with one or more other opposition parties. And lastly, let's see what is happening in terms of climate. A sophisticated joint European-Japanese satellite has launched to measure how clouds influence the climate. Some low-level clouds are known to cool the planet, others at high altitude will act as a blanket. The Earth Care mission will use a laser and radar to probe the atmosphere to see precisely where the balance lies. It's one of the greatest uncertainties in the computer models used to forecast how the climate will respond to increasing levels of greenhouse gases. And that's it for climate news and what is happening globally.
Now, if you think you've seen it all, the New Vision is giving you a very interesting headline this morning. It does show that a man has created 2 ghost farms. Why is that so? He was targeting 3 projects worth 2.2 trillion Ugandan shillings. Find about details of this man and who he is in today's New Vision. Also, there's a Matters Choir competition finalists have been named. Then the Bride and Groom 15th Expo has also been launched. Find more details in today's New Vision. Government orders nursery schools to close at midday. That is with today's New Vision. Then Kanungu pilgrims arrive at Namugongo as Afrexim Bank gives Ugandan SMEs 950 billion shillings. That is with what is happening in the New Vision today. Now, the Daily Monitor says new government plan on head teachers sparks uproar. As Don't Beat Opposition, Otafire tells new police boss, PDM has put money in many pockets, according to a minister. Then false positive tests in HIV vaccine trial worry volunteers. Then also Matters Day. Business picks up in Namugongo as pilgrims start arriving ahead of June 3rd fete. Then in homes, turning residences into commercial properties. Find details of that in the Daily Monitor. Now, elsewhere, let's have our eyes turned to the Daily Nation. Inside the Haiti Police Mission Command, security, only officers aged below 40 years will be among the 1,000 to be deployed. Now, Gachagua seeks new party amid falling out with Ruto. Now, of course, the fallouts in Kenya between the vice president and the president, these are series that continue to happen in Kenya's political arena. Now, also courts, how caretaker failed in bid to take over German employers' property. Then spending, the Treasury proposes budget cuts for State House and the Office of the Presidency. Now, lastly, from press review this morning, government is out to own commercial buildings elsewhere in Africa. That is the Tanzanian government. Now, UK unveils measures to boost horticulture growth in Tanzania. Then business dialogue, Tanzania and US in fresh move to increase bilateral trade. Then how deep sea fishing will be monitored more closely in Tanzania. So you can grab a copy of those and you can easily get through some of those stories and see. More so with that report from the New Vision of a gentleman who opened up 2 ghost farms. How did he do it? But for now, when we do return after the break, we want to look at the significance of our political leaders that have joined the trek to Namugongo. It is a conversation that is open to you, our dear viewer, to send in your opinion and the view of the same discussion that we are going to be having for our newsroom. But first, we do have our song of the day. This is coming in from Sam Smith. Stay With Me, feat. Mary J. Blige. Have it, and we'll be right back.
Live from UBC Studios.
From around March to May, it was regarded as a rainy season, and then into June now starts to get hot. July is hot, and then August we start to get some rain as well. But times have changed, I should say.
Yeah, indeed, times have changed. Now let me check on the other lady on the team, Olive Monica Najuma. How are you doing this morning, Olive?
Well, I'm great, Jerome, and good morning to you. You look quite nice this morning.
And I'm in the spirit. I don't know where I've got this energy from this morning, but I feel there's something very good that is likely to happen to me today.
It's like you've just met yourself today, but you always have that energy every single morning.
Did someone send him a message though? Sometimes some of those messages in the morning change a lot of things. Oh, the laughter. You had it.
Surprisingly, it's not a message from anyone this morning.
Definitely, we will have a conversation on this when we go off the set. And I was listening to your conversation with Chantal regarding the climate and what we are about to experience in the coming months. And according to a press release by IGAD yesterday, they said we are about to receive above normal rainfall and higher than normal temperatures are predicted over most parts of the Greater Horn of Africa. And for the case of Uganda, they said that much of Uganda and South Sudan and Sudan are expected to experience these above normal conditions. So we need to brace ourselves for the months to come, and this is going to go on up until September. So we need to be really ready, because yes, climate change is becoming something we have to grapple with, and open conversations regarding the same on how to safeguard our environment.
Well, indeed, and the conversations of climate change really start with all of us, especially with the kind of activities that we indulge in. When you look at people settling in wetlands or those settling in swampy areas, it is high time we started protecting the environment, because it does seem like at the end of everything, the chances are very high that we may face the repercussions. And when you look at the effects of climate change, for instance, what was happening in Kasese, the flooding and the mudslides, it is something that has led to loss of property in Kasese and displaced quite a number of people. And these are things that we really need to prepare ourselves for, because the changing weather patterns are quite unpredictable at the moment. But sit back, because now it's time for us to get into what has been making headlines within the country and see what next we can actually get for you in the next hours of our discussion. But first, we look at our local news this morning.
Now, as the country gears up for the celebrations of the Uganda Matters Day on June 3rd, it was excitement all over as hundreds of pilgrims from Nebi Diocese made the last attempt to reach to Namgongo as they walked through Matuga, Kawanda, Kawempe and Kalere up to Naguru, where they spent the Tuesday night ready to march to Namgongo Catholic shrines on Wednesday 29th, which is today, and they will be there today. Now, in this pilgrimage, Orombi Robert is volunteering as a traffic warden, and he says this is not an easy job. Orombi's intention is to safeguard the pilgrims in most areas where the pilgrims went through. For those who couldn't join, they supported the trek with water, money and smiles. Along the highway, it was excitement throughout the journey. At Kawempe Kutano Market, the vendors donated goodies such as roasted bananas, locally referred to as gonja, fruits and drinks as a symbol of reception to the faithful. For security personnel, led by the Chief of Military Intelligence, Brigadier General James Birungi, have walked along the pilgrims to offer security. Going through Kawempe Tula, Kalere, Bukoto Road, the pilgrims received a cultural reception at Chebando Roundabout as they headed to Naguru. St. Jude Catholic Parish Church in Naguru marks the last step of their trek. And still Matters Day. As the 3rd June Matters Day draws closer, efforts to ensure top-notch security are underway. At Namgongo Matters Catholic Shrine, police and sister security agencies have deployed in and around the site. The Deputy Police Spokesperson, Kampala Metropolitan Area, Luke Owe-Sigire, says with the growing number of pilgrims, it's only necessary to increase security presence to avoid criminality. It's just 5 days to the Matters Day commemorations, and as such, preparations to make it a success are in high gear. From cleaners to the business community, everyone is seen up and about. Police, together and with security agencies, seem ready to ensure security for pilgrims. At Namgongo Matters Catholic Shrine, security officers in their hundreds continue to be dropped off for deployment. Deputy Public Relations Officer, Kampala Metropolitan Police, Luke Owe-Sigire, told UBC that there is security for the pilgrims. No one is allowed to access the venue without being checked. Meanwhile, police on the night of 27th and 28th May 2024 arrested 30 suspects during its intelligence-led operations conducted in Chira Division. Luke Owesigire, the Deputy Public Relations Officer, Kampala Metropolitan Area, confirms this, saying the suspects will soon be arraigned in courts of law for a legal battle. Businesses, on the other hand, are booming, with the bigger part of the roadsides already occupied by both hawkers and stationed businesses.
Just a few days left to June 3rd, when the Ugandans, the Catholics, and those from the Anglican faith joined the rest of the believers from world over to commemorate Martyrs' Day. Some of our leaders have also joined some of the trekkers on their way to Martyrs' Day, or on their way to Namugongo. And some of the leaders in question here is the Prime Minister. It is Right Honourable Robin Anabanja, who joined the team that was coming in from the Hoima Diocese. Then also Honourable Fiona Nyamtoro, State Minister for Minerals, and the State Minister for Minerals also joined a team from Nebi Diocese in Bombo. So when you look at some of those figures joining the trekkers, there is a lot we can learn from there. There is a lot we can pick from the same. But a day like Martyrs' Day has huge significance to me, to the ladies in Studio B, and to you, our dear viewer. And it's something that we want you to share with us, because as we're celebrating Martyrs' Day, it stretches back to the time when we had the very first missionaries within the country who preached the word of God, or who initiated Christianity within the country, or who brought the Christianity, what I could call the Christianity conversations within the country. But that said, it's time for us to open up the conversation now, and I'll join the ladies in Studio B, Chantal Oliver Kandinda and Olive Monica Najuma, to look into the impact and the significance of our leaders. But first, I wish to know, how significant is Martyrs' Day to them? I'll start with you, Monica. When it comes to Martyrs' Day, of what significance does it bring into your life as a believer?
As a believer, by the way, if you ask for my personal perspective, I am quite on the fence, because when I read the history about the Uganda Martyrs, I have two things that come to mind. When you look at different scholars and their body of work, there is a group that calls the Uganda Martyrs rebels of the time, and argue that at the time no government would have spared their actions, because what happened, they changed religion, and now they started going against the will of the Kabaka at the time. And as you know, the Kabaka at the time yielded so much power, as did many kings around the world. We know about guillotines that happened in Europe, where if you were in wrong, we know of a king in England who had his wife guillotined. By guillotine, I mean cutting off the head. So at the time, during the times in the 1800s, this was the order of the day, that you would be executed for going against the powers that be. Now, with that being said, as a Christian, I also recognize the contribution of the martyrs, because when you look at the gospel today, and especially the new gospel, the New Testament, it says that you will be persecuted because of your faith. So to a degree, I understand that in as much as we have to give Caesar what belongs to him, the martyrs found themselves between a rock and a hard place. So do you serve God or do you serve the king? And you know, Christianity and traditional society, African traditional society, believes the two do not mix. So I see where they came from to probably not listen or honor or respect the orders of the king at the time, and why they had to surrender and be killed for their faith. So as a Christian, I recognize their contribution, but I also see the other part.
Okay. And Shadal Oliver Kanenda, of what significance is Martyrs' Day to you as a Christian? Because I doubt if you're Muslim, though. I'll choose to keep
one
quiet.
of these days. Sonko. So there must be something, you know, that I don't know. That I don't know.
We'll find out.
We have to find out. But back to your question, when I think about Martyrs' Day celebrations, all I think about is renewal of faith, because what happened to the martyrs was what was defined as having faith and believing and committing to a particular religion. So as an individual, Martyrs' Day celebrations come with strengthening faith and strengthening the commitment that one has made to their religion or to the path of Christianity they have chosen to take. So personally, that is how I view Martyrs' Day celebrations. And
well, to you, dear viewer, just to let you know, Honorable Fiona Nyamtoro, who is the State Minister for Energy and Minerals, joined the Nebi pilgrims that are the hosting diocese of the Catholic side at the Catholic shrine at Namaliga Parish in Bombo. Then, on the other hand, the Prime Minister, Right Honorable Robin Anabanje, joined the Christians of Hoima Diocese on Mubende Mitiana Road as they trekked to Namugongo. Then in the eastern part of the country, the Tororo Municipality Member of Parliament, Honorable Yeri Apollo of Fuono, also joined the pilgrims from Sacred Hearts Catholic Parish. So when you look at this, we have our government officials joining the trek. But of course, we also have other top officials within the country who will be part of the celebrations on 3rd. Now, this brings me to the question, Monica.
Yes.
When you look at this, is it sort of a political kind of move, or it's a genuine movement of faith?
Well, Sonko, it could be a bit of both.
Okay.
And it could be one person hitting two birds with one stone, not two stones with one bird. So it could be that these political leaders are also, there is something in it for them. It could be the faith that, yes, I am a political leader and I'm joining the pilgrimage to Namugongo for my religious beliefs and spiritual well-being. There is that. But also there is the political aspect to it, because let's not even try to lie to ourselves that there are no ulterior motives here. And what do I mean? We are getting closer to election time. And for me, I've seen in my period of living, at least I've been here for a few election cycles, I have seen that whenever we are getting close to the next general election, that political leaders are going to start doing certain things that they don't usually do so as to endear themselves to the electorate. And there is no harm in that, because at the end of the day, people need to still see you. There is something that the electorate usually tells political leaders or aspiring political leaders during rallies. They normally say, we don't see you. Where are you? We voted for you and we never saw you again. But now when, let's say, the Prime Minister, when Minister Nyamtoro joined the pilgrims and walk with them, it means they now get to see some of the challenges the people that are trekking encounter on these roads, and probably when they go back to cabinet and other offices of power and other rooms they occupy, they can now speak and say, by the way, when I walked with people from Nebi, these are the challenges I noticed they were experiencing. So maybe to make their work better the next year, we need to do this and that. So there is an ulterior motive, but there is also a benefit for those that they are trekking with for the later years to come.
Well, and well, I don't want to downplay the faith of our political leaders.
Yeah.
Chantal, when you look at our political leaders joining the trek or joining the believers, and also best believe, on Monday, that will be Martyrs' Day, they will also be on ground. Of what significance or of what impact does this add, you know, to the journey or to the pilgrims, or is it just a normal kind of exercise?
I'll structure it into 2 or 3 things. Number one is for Christianity, we all do understand that religion has a lot of influence on individuals, in whichever place you are. So, for example, if the person who is your role model is atheist, you're most likely going to think, well, maybe actually it's not such a bad idea. You get it? So you're likely to follow such a path. But for now Christianity, if there is anyone who looks after the minister Nyamtoro, they're going to feel like, oh, she's actually a strong believer, and maybe it helps improve on their faith and belief and trust in God. Then also, when you talk about economically, we all do know that during the times during this period when you have the pilgrimage happening and also the celebrations happening, the business, that side of Namugongo side, is really, really good. We're talking about accommodation, we're talking about food, we're talking about transport. So that means when it comes to the economy, we are gaining. And if we have even political leaders getting involved, someone is going to get involved because the Prime Minister was there. And we've seen this happen where they say, who's going to be there? I will not be part of it. But if the Prime Minister is there, if some of the ministers are there, people will want to be part of that. And in the end, it trickles into business for especially the people around, one, the areas where they are trekking from and to, and also in the areas around Namugongo where people are going. Also do note that politicians have influence on even the international tourists and pilgrims that come to Uganda. So if for example there was someone feeling unsafe or insecure, wondering how safe is it for them to be part of the pilgrims or even be part of the celebrations that day, and they're seeing some of our political leaders involved, they will have a sense of security that they will be safe in such places. So that means we'll have tourists coming in, or even more pilgrims coming in, which is going to trickle down into more money for the economy and for the business, for the small businesses around those areas. And generally, the hospitality industry will gain something from that. So I think the other part would be the political part, because if I'm not known by the people, how are they going to see the work that I do? How are they going to recognize? How am I going to work with them? So at a point, it gets more personal for these individuals who are getting involved in the treks.
Monica, Chantal mentioned something to do with the tourists. We have some pilgrims coming in from Kenya and then from Tanzania as well. When you look at that element of having other internationals coming into the country, what does that mean for Uganda? Now let's look at it from the general outlook of things.
You know, it goes without saying that Matters Day celebrations are a historical heritage for Uganda. So in as much as 99% of the people that go to Namgongo, or maybe 90%, are going there for religious reasons, others are going there out of curiosity. You know, in Luganda we say okutambula kulaba okudda kunyumya. So some of them come, yes, for the spiritual well-being, but also to see. Personally, I've been to Namgongo just to look at the statues that they have over there, to admire, and of course to get closer to, like when you look at some of them, you start to think what was going in the minds of these people as they were being butchered. There is a big one of Mukajanga butchering one of the martyrs, and it takes you back, like you try to think and envision the moment when these Christians were being murdered. And of course, it makes you question yourself as a Christian regarding your faith and how much you're willing to do for your faith and of course your belief in God. But also as a country, if we get in the internationals to come, guess what? we are going to still earn foreign revenue, foreign exchange in terms of, let's say, if they're coming from Kenya, if they're coming from United States, if they're coming from any other country, we are going to benefit from them. They're going to use our hotels. They are going to buy our food. They are going, some of them stay here after the celebrations just to look at Uganda, travel around Uganda, and all the businesses that are in the tourism industry are gaining something. But even when they stay within Namugongo, they now have a tale to tell when they go back home. And guess what? The next year, we are going to have more people coming into our country, and this will still give us foreign exchange as a country. This year, we are expecting about 150,000 people to be in Namugongo. And of those, there are many foreigners coming through.
And well, also, not to forget that we also have a Uganda Matters Museum on the side of the Anglican shrine. So that means there is a lot of potential from Uganda's tourism perspective, religious tourism, if I'm to put it in that way. But then also the businesses that are likely to tap some good money during this week and also on Matters Day. That is for people who have small-scale businesses in Namugongo, and also those who are doing businesses around Chaliwajara and neighboring areas in there. But then also, we are opening this conversation to you, our dear viewer, to send in your comment and a view on our WhatsApp number 0709 602 592, or also on the X app at UBC TV Uganda. And our poll today is, how important is it for our political leaders to participate in the pilgrimage to Namugongo? How important is it for our political leaders to participate in the pilgrimage to Namugongo? Because this has also attracted different individuals from all walks of life. So we also need to understand and underscore the fact that we have many of those coming in from not only out of the country, but then the leaders and then Ugandans themselves to be part of this year's celebrations. But also moving forward in regards to the preparations, that is our poll on the screen. You can join and send in your view and opinion. Now, looking at this, there was also an aged pilgrim who was identified, who is turning 100, which is one thing, but remaining strong after 100 is another. Now, there's a different story for Mzee Tibanje Bernardo, who has been trekking to Namugongo for the last 54 years.
Oh, wow.
Now, the secret behind his long and healthy life is staying away from alcohol, according to his kind of breakdown. And he also says that he stayed away from drug consumption. And to him, age is just a number. And at 103, he's able to walk over 300 kilometers from Bushenyi district in Western Uganda. He's 103 years old, the gentleman you're seeing on the screen. And the motivation is not just physical fitness, but also spiritual inspiration, according to Mzee Tibanje Bernardo of Bushenyi. It is also something that he has been doing for the last 54 years and is ready to do it for as long as he lives. He was born in 1921 in Bushenyi district, and he's a spiritual teacher who is proud of sharing knowledge with whoever cares to receive. Now, ladies, let me take this conversation back to you as we are summing up with our conversation this morning. When you look at a man as Mzee Bernardo, 103 years trekking to Namugongo, we are picking so many things from there in regards to faith. I don't know what you pick from there.
First of all, Sonko, what came to my mind is that the Mzee was born 21 years after the 1900 Uganda Agreement. But that being said, it goes to show that when you have faith in God, and to someone out there may be sounding like I'm preaching, but the honest truth is there are perks to having faith in God. And faith faith follows actions, is followed by actions, I beg your pardon. So you can't say, I believe in God, I believe in the sacrifice of Uganda Matters, but you cannot sacrifice anything on your part. I believe that this sacrifice, like he says, has one, enabled him to live longer because he's very strong. And then he goes on to even mention other things that he has stayed away from to contribute to his longevity and good health, and that is staying away from substances like drugs and even alcohol. But also, as a Christian, it teaches me commitment.
Okay.
Being committed to a cause and a goal has good results, bears good results, because these are the results we are seeing. He's walking, he doesn't even have a slouch, he looks very healthy with his nice white hair. Wow. Wow. I think we should start trekking to Namgongo.
And you've not sounded like you're preaching, you've preached, I should say. But that said, Shadao Oliver Kanina, in a minute, what is your take of Mosei Bernardo's story?
Well, we've seen a number of stories of ladies and men who are really old, 90 years, 100, 95, name it, 80 and above, 70 and above, doing the trek. Some trek even from Kabale. Now, Kabale by bus is about 8 to 9 hours to get to Kampala. So you can imagine, we've seen these people trek. So it is setting such a good example. And to be honest, if someone cannot age gracefully like that, then we need to check, just like Mosei said, we need to check the things we eat and put in our bodies. But commitment and faith, it has a lot to say about them.
All right. And to the viewers, you're yet to send in your comments. This one says, thanks, members, for the morning show. You've not left your name. And then this one says, Matovu Erisa, thanks for the show. I was waiting for the comment. Many of you are just thanking us for the show, which is also good. Thank you for being part of the show this morning. But that said, after the break, when Good Morning Uganda returns, Allen Namisango in the GMU Tourism Express speaks to Sandra Nguna, who is the PR Miss Tourism Uganda, on matters to do with beauty and exploring Uganda. So stick around. That is a very interesting conversation that is coming up immediately after the break. But for now, we go in for that break. But Good Morning Uganda continues. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
just take a polite loan of 200k to stock on my shop. The signs and symptoms of success. The bank commander, not the bank teller.
Why hustle for a loan when you've got MTN Momo? We're sorting. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you Tuko Pamoja, a documentary film about our unity as Ugandans and Africans.
Bunyoro would have simply created an East African community that we are looking for today.
The rulers of Bunyoro are actually Luos.
We people who live across the Nile, we are so related from our myth or from just the Nile.
We are the same people, and genetically we are even the same people.
We are similar people.
We are one.
Pamoja, we are one.
Use that word, pamoja.
Premiering every week from 3rd February to June 2024 at the National Theatre and Indere Center. Daily screenings are from 4th February to June 2024 at Hams Cinemax and the National Theatre. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660. Tuko Pamoja?
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. deal. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Joko, I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, thank you so much for sticking around. This is the GME Tourism Express with Irene Alena Misango, and we are committed to taking you around Uganda, showing you what is happening in the world of travel in Uganda's tourism. And well, today, we, unlike the other days, we are not going to show you the attractions or the destinations, but we are talking to Sandra Nguna, the PA of Miss Tourism Uganda, because Miss Tourism is one of those many activities that are taking place in Uganda to see that we promote Uganda's tourism. As the beauty pageant, we want to know how is it promoting Uganda's tourism, what is the impact that it has on these girls and on the country as a whole. We want to know, is it taking the direction of responsible tourism, because this is the order of the day. Responsible tourism and sustainable tourism is what we should take on as a country to see that we sustainably use all the beauties, all the sustainable resources that we have in the country to see that we can use them properly, keep them for the future generations, but also using them to earn something currently. So we are going to talk to Miss Sandra Nguna, the PA of Miss Tourism Uganda, telling us what is happening in that sector of the beauty pageants. Well, Sandra, we are so lucky to have you.
A pleasure to.
How are you this morning?
Very fine. Good morning, our dear viewers of UBC, and it's a pleasure being on site and having to discuss beauty queens and tourism.
Well, Sandra, the beauty pageant has been there for more than 10 years.
Yeah, sure.
Because I remember I found tourism here. I found Miss Tourism in that sector when I joined
in 2013.
2013, yeah. Wow, there's about 11 years.
10 years, yeah. This is our 11th year.
And we need to know, how is this impacting the tourism sector first, and what impact does it have on this beauty, on the beautiful girls?
Thank you so much. Now, as Miss Tourism Uganda, these girls first of all come from the 12 regions, or what we call clusters. And when they come to the national level, we get the top 3 from the regions. And these girls have a mandate of promoting the regions where they come from. Every region is unique in its own way. When I talk about where I come from, Busoga, we have things we boast about. If I say we are the adventure capital, then you should be able to promote what adventure activities are actually that side. And this is what these girls are doing. When they come, they have to, you know, showcase their culture, their food, their attractions, and it is impacting because some of them actually travel with, say, the tour companies. If there is a trip, they get along and go with those people to really showcase what is in their area. But also, these are girls we are seeing coming up with projects that are sustaining in tourism. Let's look at the Rolex Festival. Yeah. You know, she was part of some cohort, I think 2015, and when she started up, this is a tourism event. You see people coming, we are promoting culinary tourism and tourism in all aspects in its sustainable way. So when this activity is on, you know, it is attracting masses, it is attracting people to it, and to us it is a plus because the queens are doing certain things. Some of them actually opened up tour companies and is still pushing the agenda of promoting Uganda's tourism, and there are actually so many, I can't recall of them. So yes, it is impactful. It is good that someone comes with their beauty, stands up and promotes what is beautiful in our country.
Wow, yes. That is nice. Sandra, you've just concluded the 8th edition of the Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo, and the theme was responsible tourism. I just want to know, how is Miss Tourism Uganda really working in line with this theme? Because I should say that responsible tourism, like I said earlier, it is the order of the day. How is Miss Tourism working up together to see that we achieve this goal in Uganda's tourism sector?
So when I look at the entire aspect of responsible tourism, it is respecting the environment where you're going. It is respecting the cultures where you're going, and conducting yourself in a manner that is actually not impacting negatively to the communities you're meeting the other side. How are we doing that? We came up with, there is an activity ongoing, Let the Pearl Shine, and for it, it is geared towards making sure that our pearl keeps shining. When we go to a tourism destination, we've actually we've traversed all the regions, telling these people, when you're traveling, please don't dump your waste out. Be responsible, be a responsible citizen. If you're in a car and you're traveling, keep that trash and dispose it off well. That is how we maintain sustainability. So also, when you go the other side, don't disrespect the cultures of the other people. If you reach in an area and they don't allow a certain dress code, kindly act in a responsible way. So for us, that is what we are promoting, and that is what the queens are actually doing. So we are in that line. We are encouraging everyone, when you go to, say, a national park, act in a manner that respects the national park guidelines. There are people who go through, say, those going through Maction Falls and you're driving through. It is not just a matter of concerning about you, but I mean, be concerned about even the wildlife that is in that area. Be responsible enough to know that it's a habitat, and you just can't, waste it and disrespect it.
I've actually been part of the Let the Pearl Shine campaign that happened in Kampala, and it was nice going down in Nakasero market, doing the cleanups.
That was actually the second time it was happening. I was part of the first one. We walked and,
Well done. Sandra, there is a challenge that happened last year, I think, on one of the Explorer campaigns. One story came up in Daily Monitor and different media houses saying that how the tourism queens are taken for these campaigns, but they are not facilitated. How are these girls really? How are you maintaining these girls when you take them for the campaigns? How are you facilitating them?
To address that, first of all, when the Explorer campaigns were happening or are happening, we are lucky to be working with the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. So most of the time, of course, we liars. A queen cannot just step out, go to do work when we are not aware. So what the ministry does is it facilitates. But you see, there is something about the media that someone will want to, front what they think is okay to them. But there is always a right thing. There is always what is right and what someone, feels like hearing. But that wasn't true. Actually, the queens were facilitated by the ministry. Because ministry, when we are doing Miss Tourism Uganda, we partner with ministry and other sponsors. So ministry is actually like a mother where we all fall. It is very hard for you to execute tourism activities when you're not in line with the ministry program. So they were facilitated, but also as Miss Tourism Uganda, all these girls, when they're even if they had come here for a show, we make sure their transport is catered for. We make sure in the meanwhile, because you don't have to live beyond, what you can manage, even if it is just life. So we shall tell you, let's work with what is available. And what is available, we shall facilitate you. We shall give you, and when there is an opportunity, we are having queens working actually with UTB, and to us it is a plus. Now what we should also understand, that when you come to Miss Tourism Uganda, you're not coming to do a job. No, it is not a job. You're coming actually because you're passionate about tourism. You're willing to actually take the extra mile and promote this country beyond yourself. So when you come, just know that yes, you will be facilitated, but also it is a platform for you to connect. I mean, you're meeting different people. You know how tourism is big in this country. So definitely when you come, you're connecting with different people, and who knows which other platform you will have. So it is about being calm and being peaceful and knowing that I'm supposed to promote this country, I am supposed to do ABC, this is the kind of work I'm supposed to do. So, yeah.
Well, that is nice that you clear that out, because several complaints were really coming out about that, and people were maybe scared of sending in their girls to come and participate in the pageant. But it is good that you've cleared the air. Well, Sandra, just tell us the last remarks. The viewers, tell the viewers the last remarks.
Okay, thank you so much. And what I should tell a girl out there, please take it up and go into something that will be impactful. I remember back then in 2019, I was deciding on, okay, which pageant should I go for? I chose tourism. I contested in Busoga and I won Miss Tourism Busoga in 2019. I ran from 2019 to 2021. Here I am working with Miss Tourism Uganda. And this side we receive these girls. And since I have been through it, I know exactly what happens because I represented at the national level. So to every girl out there, if you have passion for tourism, if you want to join a beauty pageant, that is impactful. Please come and join. Regions are auditioning. Others are actually done. Buganda is crowning on Friday at Hotel Africana, so those who can pass by. It is a show of culture. It is a show of our Uganda's diversity, the beauty, the food, like so much. When you're in tourism, it is actually broad. You know, things keep coming up and everyone seems to be, you have to be part of it. Because you know, we always say, tourism is everyone's business. So we cannot avoid it, we cannot be far from it. So they should go and audition the regions of, you know, Teso, West Nile, Northern, Chigezi, you come from Bunyoro, Torres, Dan Crowning, Busoga. So there is a program that we are following. So as these regions are crowning, others will be crowning in June. Right now we are in the regionals, and this is gearing us up for the 13th September for the finals that will be at Kampala Serena Hotel.
Okay, thank you so much, Sandra. It was really nice having you here. I cannot add anything more on what she has just told us. If you're a girl, please go and join in for the auditions. You never know, you could be the next Miss Tourism Uganda 2024-2025. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Good morning and thank you for staying with us. This is time for us to speak business, and we are starting off with matters. Financial intelligence, and this very morning, as you remember, in February this very year, Uganda was removed from the Financial Action Task Force grey list following European Union biannual plenary session, which sat in Paris. Now, with that, there was a two-day capacity building conference that took place on investigation, prosecutors, and adjudication of money laundering and terrorism financing cases that was held in Kampala. Now, with what happened in February this very same year, it prompted the Financial Intelligence Authority to train the judicial sectors on investigation, prosecution and adjudication of money laundering and terrorism financing cases with key dignitaries from COMESA, appellate court judges, prosecutors across African countries. The executive director of Financial Intelligence Authority, that is Samuel Wandera, told UBC that criminals involved in financial laundering cases use advanced mechanisms, and he further went ahead and appealed to government to supplement the funds. Now, according to Judge Michael Mitambo, who highlighted some of the challenges faced while handling money laundering and terrorism financing cases on the international scene, says Financial Intelligence Authority has over 4,000 of money laundering and institutions, which is a threat to the economy at large. Let's hope with this two-day capacity building conference, it is expected that these individuals were being skilled and were being equipped with mechanisms of improving effectiveness in prosecution and adjudication of such crimes. Now, crossing over, the National Agricultural Advisory Services has handed over farm inputs to beneficiaries worth 6 billion Uganda shillings, and this was the head of communications at NADS, Khadija Nakakande, say the inputs are looking at generating income and definitely poverty alleviation in the country. According to Josephine Matefu Nantambi, who is the director of Nisi Organic Farm Tech, this is found in Zambia, says this particular lady heads a model farm from where she trains individuals and groups on how to integrate aquaculture and vegetables, and she says she received 16,000 fingerlings from National Agricultural Advisory Services, and this was the same Jackie with Jacqueline Tumwebaze from Makerere Full Gospel Church, who received 90 pigs to distribute to women for wealth creation. And still according to Khadija Nakakande, this support initiative is still ongoing, and it's meant to encourage Ugandans to take up this opportunity and eradicate poverty in their homes. So this process is still ongoing. In case you're interested, you would have to be reaching out to NADS itself. Now let's cross over. Nabuin Zonal Agricultural Research and Development Institute has started distributing what we call perennial crops like grapes, coffee, and desert dates to farmers in Karamoja sub-region, and over 3,000 farmers from 115 farmers in the 9 districts of Karamoja sub-region are going to be benefiting from this initiative. Ministry for Karamoja Affairs has partnered with Nabuin Zonal Agriculture Research and Development Institute, and this will be for the sake of promoting the growth of these perennial crops. This institute is also distributing seedlings for coffee, grapes, dates to farmers, and according to scientists, farmers should start growing perennial crops, and the farmers are also being called for training and supervision. And according to leaders, there is a lot of hope that this will deter youth from cattle rustling, which is something that Karamoja region grapples with. Now, repeatedly, the director of research at Nabuin, this is Paul Okulo, flagged off seeds for cowpeas, green gram, and sorghum to farmers in the districts of Kabong, Kotido, Karenga, Napak. Arabica coffee will be distributed to Nakapilpirit, Karenga districts, while Napak and the Bim districts will be getting Robusta coffee. Now, lastly, adhering to the provisions of the Coffee Act, such as picking only ripe beans and avoiding drying beans on bare ground, are what entails proper care for coffee. And with this, the farmer is assured of harvesting coffee beans twice a year. Please do note that if you're not into coffee, coffee has 2 seasons every year. Now, the chairman, Luwero Chichusa, and Katikamo Sub-Counties Coffee Cooperative Society, Paul Bukenya, assured members that coffee prices on international markets are stable, and Bukenya urged citizens of Greater Luwero to join coffee cooperative societies, stressing that individual efforts in agriculture are often insufficient for success. And this is very true, basing on even some of the information that we have been able to collect. And if you're to do the checks, you realize that you're much safer in a cooperative if you are a coffee farmer. Same applies to those in dairy. Now, also, he went ahead and appealed to members in the NRM Revolutionary Guards to deepen their revolutionary ideology and support each other in the upcoming parliamentary elections. And then Moses Kayimbye advised Lukika Coffee Cooperative Society members to comply with the Cooperative Act's provisions, while the society treasurer Chigundu Muhammad reported that society, which spent nearly 5 million shillings to organize the annual meeting, is debt-free, and that should be good news for these individuals. And lastly, Colonel John Freddy Onata, the CEO of Wazalendo Circle, who served as the chief guest of honor at the graduation and training ceremony of 28 women from various circles across the country. And this event at the Uganda Cooperative and Credit Union headquarters in Maganju Kawempe by Women's Mentorship Program, Eco Uganda. Now, Colonel Onata highlighted embracing saving culture within families and encouraged parents to mentor and empower their families, foster community growth. And 28 women from different circles underwent training in serving culture, family mentorship, community planning, and received certificates upon completion. The ceremony was marked by a supportive and educational atmosphere, with participants and guests sharing common goal of community empowerment and development. And that's it for what we could be able to gather for you in terms of business. Let's cross over and see how we are trading. This was as of closure of business yesterday, how the forex markets are faring. As you can see from your screen, the US dollar yesterday was buying at 3,800 opening and selling at 3,810. By closure of business, it was buying at 3,808, selling at 3,818. Now, the Great Britain pound was buying at 4,865, selling at 4,878, and the euro was buying at 4,142, while selling at 4,153. And then the Kenyan shilling was buying at 28 shillings, while selling at 28.76, while the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.46, while selling at 1.47. The South African rand buying at 207, while selling at 207.77. And that was as of closure of business yesterday. Thank you for tuning in. That's it for business. Coming up is traffic updates, and Olive is already in studio.
Well, thank you for sticking with us all the way from 6:30 up until this time. And Good Morning Uganda still continues up until the hour of 9. But before we get into the other segments of the show, let's look at the traffic situation on our roads. Now, before we even delve into the traffic updates for the day, I would like us to have a minute and think about how we drive on gravel roads and also on Maram roads. Now, I've picked an area that is Chira, Bogo Road, and as we move, if you stay that side, you know that there are current ongoing road works on the Chira roads. That is from Kasangati, and also a section going to Chaliwajala, but also the road from Mulawa, areas of Bolindo, going through Nigeria. Parts of the road have been stripped off of the tarmac, so they are maram right now and extremely bumpy. So how do you drive on roads like this? Well, you need to drive slow. You need to keep your speed at 40 kilometers per hour, because if you drive very fast and you do this on a daily, your tires are going to lose traction. So you need to drive slower. I know if you're driving a Subaru like people of Nigeria are known to do, you may be intrigued and interested in driving faster, but this is going to cost you your tires, and we know that tires are quite expensive. So you need to consider that as you traverse the roads of Chira, Chaliwajala, Kasangati that are currently undergoing works. Now, let's start our traffic updates. And starting off from the roundabout in Chira, I see that there is no traffic jam yet. And if you're coming from the areas of Mulawa, Bolindo, there is smooth flow of traffic over there. You will just encounter a delay right at the roundabout. The same applies to those coming in from Kasangati Road, Buwate side, that are using that road to approach Chira town. And of course, if you're going to the sides of Namugongo, there is still smooth flow of traffic over there. But I would like for us to follow Mbogo Road and see how we can get to areas of Najera and Chiwatule and look at the traffic situation there. Now, just from the roundabout in Chira town, I see that there is a slow movement of traffic after the roundabout on both sections of the road, especially as you're getting closer to Sir Apollo Kagwa Primary School. It could be because of parents dropping children for school. But going ahead, we see now we have smooth flow of traffic, and we continue still with Mbogo Road. Now, some sections are yellow, which indicates that there is a bit of traffic jam in those areas, but not too much for you to be afraid that you're going to lose too much time. Buwate roads were worked on, so there isn't traffic coming in from that side anymore because the roads are smooth. So that means people are able to drive in record time. And looking at the intersection in Nigeria that has Buwate Road and Bogo Road connecting, here you will encounter a bit of a delay as evidenced by the yellow zones you are seeing. But continuing still after that intersection, going forward, following Bogo Road still in the areas of Nigeria. Now we are approaching Nigeria 1. There is a bit of traffic jam just as you take Blabira Road. But the beauty is that Blabira Road almost never has traffic jam, especially around this time, and even this morning it has smooth flow of traffic. Many people use it as an alternate route to avoid traffic jam. And continuing still with Mbogo Road, I see that right where the other intersection of Blabira Road, we have a bit of a delay there, evidenced by the orange zones. And then continuing ahead, now we are getting into the thick of things as we are approaching the bridge. Now, around this section, this is now in Chiwatule, we are experiencing a bit of traffic jam for a stretch, actually even before and even after the bridge. So if that's where you're coming from, this is the area you're going to find traffic jam. Still continuing within Chiwatule, around the intersection that joins Mbogo Road to the road that comes in from Nalia, we are experiencing a bit of a delay around here along Chiwatule Road, as evidenced by the yellow zones. Now continuing still with Old Chira Road, I see that some sections have smooth flow of traffic and other sections have delays in especially in that valley that takes you along Eliana Hotel. Now moving forward along Chigobe Road, I see traffic jam here, and of course I see traffic jam around the intersection right within Ntinda town. But this intersection has traffic lights lights. So probably this is the reason why I'm seeing a few red zones, especially for those coming in from Chigobe Road, that is the side of Chambogo Road, those coming in from Chiwatule and Chira, Nalia. This is the traffic jam you're experiencing here because of the traffic lights. And as we follow these roads, I see a bit of traffic jam coming through from Semawata Road. Now we are in the area of Ntinda, and this is where we are now starting to experience serious red zones of traffic jam. There is a bit of traffic jam, actually not just a bit, there is some intense traffic jam coming through from Magambo Road, which is another alternate route people use to dodge traffic jam, and it is now feeding into the Bukoto Ntinda Road, and this area is entirely red and yellow. And continuing with Bukoto Ntinda Road, we have intense traffic jam, as you can see over there. So I don't know which part of town you're headed to, but if you're going to the areas of Bukoto and Ntinda, you're going to experience delays, especially once you approach the Ntinda Bukoto area. But I wish you luck as you move on the road, and also as you traverse and, you know, deal with your business today. And I'll catch you again tomorrow.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
Just take a polite loan of 200k to stock on my shop. The signs and symptoms of success. The bank commander, not the bank teller.
Why hustle for a loan when you've got MTN Momo? We're sorting it. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala. We have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda. Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. My parish, my development, my life.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you Tuko Pamoja, a documentary film about our unity as Ugandans and Africans.
Bunyoro would have simply created an East African community that we are looking for today.
The rulers of Bunyoro are actually Luos.
We people who live across the Nile, we are so related from our myth or from just the Nile.
We are the same people, and genetically we are even the same people.
We are similar people. We are one. Pamoja, we are one.
Use that word, pamoja.
Premiering every week from 3rd February to June 2024 at the National Theatre and Indere Center. Daily screenings are from 4th February to June 2024 at Ham Cinemax and the National Theatre. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660. Tuko Pamoja?
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times Channel 201, Zuku TV Channel 20, and Azam TV Channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
107.3 Kampala, 96.9 Mbale, 95.7 Jinja, 98.6 Soroti. You are all covered.
UBC Butewo. UBC Butewo.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
I'm glad to have your company this morning and welcome along to the Good Morning Uganda agenda. Now I'll quickly run through some of the comments that our viewers sent in during our newsreel in regards to our poll question of the day that was rotating around the significance of political leaders joining the trek to Namugongo. Of course, we were asking of what significance is it for our leaders to be part of the trekkers, and I'll get through two of the comments I have here. This one says, I think politicians should participate in this religious activity of the Uganda Matters because God is for all of us, whether you are a politician or not. This is Daniel Abirimu. Thank you very much, Daniel. And then one last one, a bit chaotic, but I'll go with it. He says, it's not good for political leaders to join pilgrims because people will hate Namugongo. We people, we hate politics because politics aleta obwavu, says Matovu Erisa. Well, he has his own view of things as well, and it should as well be upheld. But that aside, we are heading back to our conversation, but this time round, taking it to the context of the Anglican Matters side, preparations for 2024's Matters Day. My guest this morning is coming in from St. Luke's Church of Uganda in Nachifuma under the Mukono Diocese, and is the vicar of the church, Reverend David Kagwa, who joins us this morning live from our studios in Kampala to have this conversation and discussion. A very good morning, Reverend. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, my brother, and thank you for having me. I'm blessed to be here at the mighty UBC. Okay,
and the pleasure is ours having you this morning as we prepare for Matters Day. Amen. And speaking of Matters Day, to you as a reverend and a believer over the years, of what significance is such a day to you?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, my name is David Kagwa, and by the grace of God, I'm born again, a reverend, ordained minister in the province of the Church of Uganda. And, you know, it's a pleasure to be here this morning, and also to have had the privilege of, you know, knowing the Lord and serving Him, the capacity that I am serving Him. Now, back to what you're saying, my brother, I want to say that the story of the Matters is probably one of the greatest of stories that we could ever have anywhere, but the Lord has gifted humanity with. When we speak of Matters, we are speaking of faith, we are speaking of dedication, we are speaking of resilience. As far as I'm concerned, the story of the Matters is the epitome of the manifestation of faith, resilience, and commitment, that someone can live for something. You know, we are living in a generation where basically life has come to nothing in as far as certain people are concerned. Basically everything goes. Now the story of the Matters reignites the passion of life, the fact that someone can live for something in a higher calling, such that you're not just focusing on things that are passing and they're coming and they're going. Okay. This is how I could summarize it.
Now, looking at the social and economic situations at the time, the social and political situation at the time when the Matters passed on, if you can briefly take us back to the historical context of, you know, the spiritual journey of the Uganda Matters, and putting in, you know, proper context, the 23 Anglican matters?
The story of the matters can be traced to about 1875. You do not get Kabaka Mutesa I out of this. Remember that it was a very sober and influential leader that thought of illuminating this land with education, and we want to credit him with lots of things when it comes to enlightenment in Uganda. So he invited the missionaries to come, and we remember that famous letter that he wrote when he says that his kingdom was in darkness and therefore he needed it to be illuminated by the education that came from the West, but above all by the faith that they would bring. Now we remember that Kabaka Mutesa I the first was a sober leader, a man that could balance things. And when initially the Christians came in, we remember that thereafter in 1877 we got the Anglican missionaries here, followed by the White Fathers or the Catholic missionaries in 1879. Now, what happened was that all these were living at the palace initially, and you know that naturally there's going to be some kind of mayhem and commotion, but which they managed to control initially. So what happened was that when Mutesa I passed on, he was succeeded by rather a nascent leader in the names of Kabaka Mwanga. History puts it that he must have been around 18 to 20 when he assumed the reins of power, and unlike his father, he could not have the grit of control on managing and balancing the interest of all these groups at the palace, and coupled with lots of other things that were stretching from personal character of the men that were at play in the palace, superstition, for example, what was happening, like the palace in Mengo at that particular time had been struck by lightning. He went hunting and he could not get his hippos. He lost his gun in the lake, Lake Victoria. And then also an attribution could be put to the play at the palace in terms of instruction of the matters by the two leagues that were at play, basically the Catholics and Anglicans. And sometimes he came back and he could not get the allegiance that he expected. All this culminated into the mayhem and commotion that followed. And of course, not forgetting the power that he had in absolute terms. Kings were, in complete control.
And, when it comes to the element of kings being in total control, I think it brings us back to the current situation where, of course, on the political side, our government is in control, but there is that element of the freedom that comes with the prayer. And we have people joining, of course, these celebrations, and then we also have churches getting up. But that aside, when you look at Matters Day today, if we are now looking at it from a side of the relevance of the matters to modern day Christians, when we look back at how they joined the rest, rather how they joined their faith, how they chose to be either Catholics or Anglicans. It was an act of faith and personal belief and personal, being personally driven to go for what you want. Now, when you look at what we can pick from this kind of, heart, spirit, and movement by the matters, what can you say what can you say that we Christians of today can learn from the Christians or matters that passed on?
Okay. Thank you, Joe. There are lots of things that we can learn from the matters. First and foremost, the story of the Uganda matters is a story of, extreme faith. This is the very first thing that we can get to learn from them. If I could take you back to the Uganda matters, particularly on the Anglican side, but I want to do the complete story because this is how it fits in. You have young men like Mark Kakumba, from whom St. Kakumba Chapel in Chambo University has been named, men like Noah Serwanga and men like Yusuf Lugarama, who are the very first Anglican matters to be mattered by dismembering at the Uganda Matters a church in Busega, we get to see a profound story of faith. They were very young men. A story is told that of a man called Alexander Mackay, who was one of our church fathers that planted the seeds of Christianity in Uganda, especially on the Anglican side. He wanted escorts. On that particular occasion, the king had preferred to give him particular escorts, but he chose to go with these young men, probably because of their faith. And the king took this for disobedience and went ahead to kill them. But none of them went, I want to back out of this. That is a story of faith. If you can permit me to cross over to our brothers, the Catholics, there were men like Mbaga Tuzinde, who is said to have been a nephew to the chief executioner, who was called Mukajanga. This was a young man. He was a young man that was brought to Namgongo. His mother lived 6 kilometers away from Namgongo, and he was given an option to opt out. And Mbaga Tuzinde said, this is not something that I can do. To recant is neither right nor safe. He offered to die. Men like Kizito Muto, he offered to die. You see this. Men like Charles Rwanga, he offered to die. And it is alleged that he's a man that said to the deputy executioner, Senkole, he said, I wish you knew how, joyful this is. You could simply have come and joined us. So you can see it was a story of faith, 1. 2, it is something that reminds us of the judgment that is going to come on Judgment Day. Now, a story is said on the fateful day, I think it was May 24th, 1885, Kabaka Mwanga went for a hunting excursion in the lake. He was a man that was fond of hunting, and things didn't go well. When they didn't go well, he lost his gun. He comes back to the palace. He doesn't find his pages, basically, except then Sebugwao, who he was his personal assistant, who kind of timed his time of coming back from his hunting expedition. And when he got back, he was upset just because of what had happened. And it is said that he speared through him, but immediately held court on the other side of the palace. And he said, if you're still my ardent follower, please move on to my right. If you're still against me and want to go with the Christians, move to my left. Now, for those of you that know your Bible, in Matthew chapter 25 from verse 31 onwards, we speak of the story of the judgment of the nations. This is exactly what is going to happen when Christ comes back. He reminds us of this judgment that is going to come. How significant is this? It prepares us to live for the Lord. It is a story that reminds us of faithfulness and of commitment and resilience. Even when the hard times come, we are urged by the matters to be able to stand.
And this brings me to asking, what can the modern church today do to ensure that the community gets back to the church? And in the same kind of spirit, what initiatives can be introduced, to promote this kind of belief and trust in God?
Okay, a very good question. First and foremost, we need to know that the resilience of the martyrs and their commitment and adoration of the Lord did not simply come out of the vacuum or of the blue. It was something that was worked upon. Men like Alexander Mackay and even on the side of the Catholics, these people were instructed. The other name of the martyrs actually was the catechists. Now, that comes from the word catechism, which points to teaching. The church can emulate the martyrs and the religious setup at the time of the martyrs by teaching. These men were inculcated in Christian doctrine. I'm sorry to tell you, my brother, that one of the things that we've lost at the church today is proper teaching of the Word of God. Jesus himself was a teacher and is often called the good teacher. We need to get back to the type of teaching that these people were getting. The unedited 311 gospel is meant to be premised on the foundations of the true Word of God. So that is one thing we can learn from them. 2, there were men that were devoted to prayer. It is said that when these men were killed, they were busy singing and they were praying. They could not recant. Men like Chizito, men like Noah Serwanga, they were men of prayer. Today, I'm sorry to tell you that in a sense, we've deviated from these very important tenets. and the church is focusing on miracles, which I'm not against as an individual, but I know that these are things that are going to fall into play when we embrace the Lord. It's a God of miracles, but we are putting them before him. So to answer your question, 1, teaching, 2, teaching and the word of God, 2, prayer.
Okay.
Yes.
And looking at continuity, Martyrs' Day is, is a statement from the side of Uganda. Why? Because we have believers who come from different countries.
Absolutely.
We have those from the DRC, we have those coming in from Tanzania. One of them is also Mama Nyerere. We also have believers, I think the most trekkers come from Kenya annually. Now, when you look at those numbers of people coming here because of their faith, before you even look at the continuity and the legacy, I need to know, why is it important for a Christian to embrace making holy journeys or pilgrimages once in their lifetime or even annually?
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Now, first and foremost, there's a sense in which celebrating the martyrs is reminiscent of the faith that is universal and carries on. It is a faith. It reminds us of the fact that it is not something that we are making up, that we are starting today. The Uganda Martyrs is a statement that points to the fact that the church has been here and faith is a thing that has been here for a long time. So it is a significant thing. 2, there's a sense in which you can lose your faith and you get lost into oblivion because of your challenges. The pressure that is around people every single day, the debts and the taxes and the sicknesses and infirmities that are around us and the daily pressures. So you get to reminisce and you look back and you're like, if they made it through their time and the challenges of their time, this is something that we can get to make as well. Thirdly, it is a time that is specifically set aside for one to get to meditate, pray, and focus. Now, my brother Joe, forgetting about sometimes the mishaps that of course come around Uganda Martyrs, like people coming and they're drinking and they're doing all these sorts of things. There is, particular and deliberate and intentional focus, especially when you come to the way that we set this up at the Anglican site. There's particular time that is dedicated to prayer, meditation, and personal focus on the Lord. There are days that we dedicate to the youth. Sunday school was there on the 23rd. The youth were there on, I think, the 28th. The Mothers Union was over there on their particular days. And we are focusing on these things. It is a time that is set aside that you get to forget about these other things. And you're focusing on prayer. We don't venerate the martyrs, but we take this time to meditate upon our own faith and get to focus on, the significance of this, to the point that it will take people to give their own life.
And Reverend Kagwa, when you look at this year's celebrations, what are some of the things that have been done for the preparations? One, from the side of, I'll start from the Nachifuma, the Church of Uganda, that is St. Luke's Church of Uganda in Nachifuma. When you look at the preparations, how prepared